All right, let's get right into it. We are diving headfirst into one of the most, well, intense and honestly most debated passages in the entire Bible. We're talking about the fifth trumpet in the book of Revelation. You know the one. It's a scene that has sparked endless debate and, let's be real, probably a few nightmares over the centuries. I mean, just listen to that imagery. A star falling from heaven, a key to a bottomless pit. It sounds absolutely terrifying, right? It feels like a scene straight out of an epic disaster movie, the ultimate unleashing of chaos and evil. But what if that's not what's happening at all? What if we've been looking at this from the completely wrong angle? So here's the big question we're tackling. What if this whole scene isn't about some rogue angel opening up Pandora's box of demons? What if, buried in all that scary symbolism, there's actually a message of, well, of total victory? It's a pretty radical idea, I know, but stick with me because this interpretation could change how you see this entire chapter. Okay, so let's break this down piece by piece. First up, that falling star. I mean, when you hear a star falling from heaven, where does your mind go? For a lot of people, the immediate thought is a fallen angel, right? Someone like Lucifer being cast out. But this particular view completely flips that script. It argues that this star isn't a fallen angel at all. No, it's Jesus Christ himself. And there's a good reason for this. Later in Revelation, in chapter 22, Jesus literally calls himself the bright and morning star. So this isn't a symbol of defeat. It's a symbol of the ultimate, highest authority there is. And this is where we need to get just a little bit nerdy, but trust me, it's worth it. The original Greek word used here for fall is peptokota. Now, in our modern minds, fall almost always sounds bad, right? Like a fall from grace. But that's not what this word has to mean. It can also mean a purposeful descent, an arrival. Think about it like Christ's incarnation. He descended from heaven to earth. It wasn't a fall into sin, it was a descent with a mission. Total game changer. All right, so if the star is Christ, let's look at the next symbol, the key. The verse says that the star, who we're now thinking of as Jesus, was given the key to the bottomless pit. And that word given is absolutely crucial here. The Greek word is kleis, and a key, it's always a symbol of power. It's not just about being able to open a door. It's about having complete authority. The person holding the key is the one calling the shots. They get to decide what's opened and what's locked down, what gets released and what stays put. It's a symbol of total control. And this idea isn't something that just pops up out of nowhere in Revelation, no way. It has deep, deep roots all the way back in the Old Testament. The prophet Isaiah actually talks about the Messiah being given the key of the house of David. What does that mean? It's the language of divine right, of kingship. It means he has the ultimate authority to rule. So this is the main takeaway for this part. The key wasn't just lying around for someone to pick up. It wasn't stolen, it was given to him. And according to this interpretation, it was earned. How? Through his sacrifice, through his death and resurrection. That act gave him total, complete authority over everything, sin, death, and yes, even judgment itself. Okay, let's recap. We've got the star as Christ and the key as his earned divine authority. So, what in the world is the bottomless pit? This is where this whole interpretation really gets interesting and starts to challenge everything we thought we knew. So let's just put the two views side by side. The common view? The pit is basically a cosmic prison for demons, a place of pure evil, and a fallen angel opens it up to let all that chaos loose on the world. But this other interpretation? It sees the pit as something else entirely. It's a symbol of God's perfect, righteous judgment. It's a source of divine authority being put into action, and it's being opened on purpose by Jesus himself. Once again, the Greek word gives us a clue. It's abyssos, and in this line of thinking, it's not some physical hole in the ground filled with monsters. It's more of a spiritual concept. It represents the very place, the very source, where God's judgment on sin comes from. It's not hell, exactly. It's the place where judgment is enacted. And that idea leads us to what might be the most profound part of this entire interpretation. The argument is that this bottomless pit is actually a powerful symbol for something we've already seen before, way back in the Old Testament. Think about the Old Covenant for a minute. Where was sin judged? Where did it meet its consequence? Well, it was at the altar. That was the specific, designated place where the blood of a sacrifice was poured out to make atonement, to deal with sin head on. You see the parallel forming here? It's incredibly powerful.
The physical altar in the Old Testament, that was a shadow, a preview of what was to come. The pit, this spiritual altar in the New Covenant, is the real thing. The argument is that this abyss is the cross, the one place where all sin, for all time, was judged completely and finally in Jesus.
So that leaves one last question. Why is it called bottomless? Well, think about it. What is the weight of all the sin of all of humanity for all of history? It's immeasurable. It's infinite. No physical altar could ever handle that. So the term bottomless isn't about how deep a hole is. It's about the infinite spiritual gravity of the judgment that Christ took on himself for us. So let's just pull all of this together. Once you start to see the star as Christ, the key as his total authority, and the pit as the spiritual altar where his sacrifice took place, the meaning of this entire scene just completely transforms. The opening of the pit is no longer a moment of terror. It's not Satan having his big moment. No, it's Christ's triumph. It is the official announcement to the entire cosmos that the work is finished. Judgment on sin is done. It has been dealt with, paid for, and defeated at the cross. And you know what? This fits perfectly with what Jesus says about himself just a few chapters earlier in Revelation. He says, point blank, I am he that liveth and was dead, and behold, I am alive forevermore, and have the keys of hell and of death. He's the one in charge. He's always been the one holding the keys. So we'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. This whole interpretation really asks us to make a huge shift in how we read these things. What if the most frightening scenes in the Bible aren't actually threats of what's to come? What if they're not about chaos taking over? What if instead they are powerful, symbolic declarations of Christ's absolute finished victory and his ultimate control over everything? It's a shift from fear to faith, really, a totally different way to read Revelation.